This is Golden State Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Sr. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, we appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. We're going to open up the floor here and answer some of your questions because we're right in the thick of NBA free agency, and there's been a lot of movement across the NBA. Not a lot of movement for Golden State. Two moves so far of note. Draymond Green re-signing on that $100 million deal, and then Corey Jusuf on that one-year contract, but still some moves that Mike Dunleavy Jr. and company could still move, and I know a lot of you have questions and comments about that, so let's get into it here. Rick Nyers with the $5 Super Chat here. You need to package some players to get Damian Lillard and Jusuf Nurkic. Thompson, Kuminga, maybe Moody, as well as some first-round picks. So Klay Thompson on an expiring deal. Kuminga is a young player with so much potential. I thought Moses Moody displayed a lot in that series against the Lakers as a guy who's a willing defender and he can hit some threes. The money doesn't really check out here with just those three players in Thompson, Kuminga, Moody. You'd have to add another player in there because Dame's expensive and Nurkic is expensive. Of note, and we talked about this here earlier this week, Ramona Shelburne of ESPN did say that prior to Golden State trading for Chris Paul, the Warriors were actually a destination that Damian Lillard wanted to go to. He is from Oakland, a Bay Area guy. The backcourt offensively of Dame and Steph would put up so many points, and they'd be so fun to watch. On the defensive end of the floor, they might get hunted all night long. They'd have to outscore a lot of opponents in lighting up that scoreboard. John Borelli, also with a donation, $2 here. I like the PG-13 trade for Paul and Moody or Cat. So we can take a look at that trade, Jack. That's from a previous segment that we did during our live show as this mailbag going out throughout the weekend after we went live on Friday. Thanks to everybody who joined us. This is the one that John Borelli is referring to, a trade idea that I cooked up where the Warriors receive Paul George and Nicholas Batum in exchange for Chris Paul as well as Andrew Wiggins. This would then put Steph Curry back in that primary initiator role where he's going to play point guard for this team and have to really create a lot of the offense, but Paul George is a very good wing. The thought in giving up Andrew Wiggins here, he's a two-way player, so too is Paul George, but Paul George a better offensive player than Andrew Wiggins is. And then Rick Nyers with another $5 donation here. Just wanted to show some love, supporting the show. Rick, we appreciate you for being a legend here on the program. And for those of you out there who want to support the show, a few ways for you to do that. Always, when you watch our content, like the video, comment all day long, share this video on social media, definitely hit that subscribe button. You can also send in a super chat, or if you're watching this after we went live, you can send in a super thanks as well. Lore with this one, can we sign Bol Bol? Bol Bol has really been a popular name over the last few days after he was let go by the Orlando Magic. He played in 70 games last year with around 30 starts and showed some ability. He is just so skinny, and I think for him offensively when I watch him, he's always trying to get himself involved, not necessarily others. And I'm not sure that coincides with the style that the Warriors want to play, which is a very team-centric type of style. He has name power. He has some intriguing potential. He hasn't really been able to stick with the team so far in his NBA career. Denver Nuggets, Orlando Magic. I think he'll land somewhere. I just don't think that team is going to be with Golden State. He's also not the best defensive player either outside of protecting the rim just because he's a little bit slow as he gets attacked on some of those switches. Hughes Walker, will Klay Thompson come off the bench next year? I know that this has been a loose conversation among Dub Nation here really over the last year and change about Klay coming in off the bench. I think Klay has too much pride to come in off the bench. I know he's a team guy, but look, when it comes down to Klay Thompson, like this dude really cares about how people view him. He cares about his legacy. I think he's really going to grind this offseason to try to improve his stamina. If you think about it, this is one of the first offseasons that he's had over the last few years where he hasn't had to worry about rehabilitating from an injury. Last year, played his first full season, so he had to take a little bit of a break, but now he's coming off a year in which he was fully healthy. His numbers in the regular season were just fine. 40+% from three-point range. The offensive numbers were good. I think he just ran out of steam in that second round series against Los Angeles. I don't think he's going to come in off the bench. I'm looking for Klay to have a solid year in a contract year to try to get one more contract. Are the Warriors going to try to get anybody else? Yes, they have, 2 or 3 roster spots available. So I think the deals that will take place from here on out, Andrew, are going to be very cheap contracts for veterans on that minimum deal, just because that's really all that they can afford with paying all that money to Steph, Klay, Draymond, as well as Andrew Wiggins, and now Chris Paul too. Basketball cut. What do you think about Lester? Lester is a fantastic player whose last name I always butcher. One of these weekends, I'm just going to put it phonetically on some paper and just say that all weekend long, stay in, not even go out to just master that name. What I do know is that he has played awesome basketball throughout the NBA Summer League here. Very, very productive scorer. There's been some chatter about him being Jordan Poole's replacement as a guy who can come in off the bench and give you a lot of buckets. While at Memphis playing college ball, I like his patience in trying to get to his spot to get that shot off. And now with the Warriors here throughout Summer League, he's been very, very aggressive. And if that aggressiveness continues, the efficiency continues, he'll have an opportunity to crack this roster, and maybe one of those remaining roster spots goes to a young player like him. Noah Nelson. Can the Dubs bring back Juan Toscano-Anderson? I thought he was a free agent. Yeah, he signed a 1-year deal last year in free agency, so they could bring him back if they really wanted to. I'm not sure what his role would be on this basketball team. He is a very, very limited player whose story of making it to the NBA and landing contracts was very, very cool after it being an uphill battle and very, very arduous. But I think Juan Toscano-Anderson is not a guy who the Dubs are going to bring back here in this free agency period. You know what I want to bring back to the show? This deal. Warriors t-shirt combo. You can get it now while it's hot in these Warriors streets. Chatsports.com/Dubs combo. Producer Jack, put that in the comment section and in the description of this video. $20 off today only. Hacker, get off the Dame train. He doesn't fit the budget. Now he doesn't fit the budget. The whole reason we've talked about Damian Lillard here is because he could have wanted to come here and did say, according to Ramona Shelburne, he wanted to go to the Dubs prior to the CP3 trade. If CP3 wasn't on this team, you would have that money to be budgeted for Damian Lillard. Scott Peterson, do you think Blake Griffin would be a good fit for the Warriors? I don't, because I think Blake Griffin is done. Was not even in the rotation for the Boston Celtics last year, and what a fast decline for a guy who, when he was at his strength and the peak of his powers, Blake Griffin was one of the more exciting, exhilarating players that we've ever seen in the history of the NBA. With those Lob City Clippers, he was awesome. Even with the Detroit Pistons, he evolved his game to where he was hitting a three-point shot. And Blake Griffin, I thought, was going to be able to extend his career because of that, but the knee is just not able to hold up, and I don't think they'd be able to hold up for Golden State. I think he's somewhat done. Coop, can they trade Chris Paul now, or do they have to wait until the January trade deadline? They can trade Chris Paul whenever, if I'm not mistaken. So CP3 can be dealt and swapped again. And why do I say that? Well, he was traded from Phoenix to Washington, so he can get traded again here in this cycle prior to the season. I don't think a trade does happen. Draymond's already talked about how he can help the team. Steve Kerr talked about his fit on this Warriors roster as well. So I think CP3, they're at least going to give it a try. And if it doesn't work, maybe trade him at the NBA trade deadline. Be sure to subscribe to the show. We are on the road to 60,000 subscribers, 58,273 currently. If you're looking for year-round coverage of the Dubs, make sure you hit that subscribe button here. Vinaic, hopefully I pronounced that right. Will the Warriors extend Klay before the end of the season? I think it's going to happen after this year. I think the Warriors want to do that because it makes sense for them from a business standpoint. And then for Klay Thompson, it makes sense to do it after the year because everything we've kind of been hearing is that he wants to increase his value this year and then next year try to cash in after putting together a pretty good season. Gregory, get Boogie Cousins, Moses Brown, and Bol Bol for the center position. So you can't pick up all three of them. DeMarcus Cousins was playing in Puerto Rico and playing well, but it is Puerto Rico. Moses Brown, I've always been intrigued by his athleticism, but there's a reason why he hasn't been able to consistently stay on a team. Bol Bol, I put the likelihood somewhat low, but man, if they brought him in, I'd want to see how he could play on a team like this. The Doctor, I moved to Las Vegas, so you know where I will be over the next few days. Las Vegas Summer League, very cool, my guy. Hoping Jackson Davis can play. I like what Gui Santos is doing. You think that TJD and Santos will have spots on the team. Lester, too, he has been hooping as a very good scorer. And then you also get to see Brandon Podziemski, who I think has played pretty solid his first couple of games in the Summer League. I hope that Trayce Jackson Davis can play because the Warriors might be holding out on a center to wait and see if he can actually be a part of this rotation. He's an older player, entered the draft as one of the older players in the draft. Some people had a first-round grade on him. I like how smart he is as a basketball player. I think ideally he might be a two-way guy who can go back and forth between the NBA level and the G League level. Gui Santos, he might be the same as well. As far as an NBA strict contract here, I don't think that they're going to be consistent rotation guys, but we'll see. Elisa, do you think losing Dante DiVincenzo was bad for Golden State? I think it'll hurt a little bit. Very good athlete who could defend, handle the basketball, play off ball, knock down the three, but you're not going to pay him what the New York Knicks gave him. He exceeded what I thought he was going to get. My prediction was a 3-year deal worth 30. He got 4, worth a lot more than that. So from a financial standpoint, you couldn't have afforded him, but he had steady contributions for this team this past year. Last question here. Are the Warriors still contenders? You asked me questions, so I'm now asking you the question. 1 for yes, 0 for no. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks as always for tuning in.